All right. Hey guys, it's Scott. As you can tell, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to Fourth World today. All kinds of first day summer camp drama, drop off, scheduling stuff. But I left a bunch of signed stuff there. Fourth World Comics, Smithtown, New York, fantastic family run shop. Please go by. I left some Kickstarter editions signed by me and Tony, all kinds of stuff. Go support them, they're a fantastic family. Couple of quick self-promotional things. One, Noctera 5 is out next week. It's our biggest selling issue since #1, and it's the penultimate one of our first arc, so it has big explosive reveals and stuff, so I hope you'll check it out. And thank you so much for making the series such a hit for us and so much fun. And then 2, I'm going to make a bunch of big announcements pretty soon about books that are coming out from Best Jacket with me and partners, and also we're going to revamp our website. We're going to have a big website kind of reveal. And I'm going to move a lot of my social media over to a newsletter format through that so that you guys can interact with me in a more comprehensive way than just like 150 dumpster fire kind of characters on Twitter or all that stuff. So look for a lot of stuff talking about this on my social media as soon as I kind of move it over. Craft video. This is a subject that I love and I've been dying to talk about for a while, but it's 3-act structure. I keep getting asked about it because I've mentioned it a bunch of times and I got like a bunch of DMs. What is it? How do you apply it to comic book storytelling? And I don't even have a chance to scratch the surface with it in a short video like this. But I'll do my best, and I'm going to try and look at it through the lens of first issues, which is my way of kind of narrowing down all the topics that we've been looking at so far. Openings and closings, narration, characterization, all that stuff. Just trying to really laser focus it through first issue. So I'll do that here. So we'll only be looking at a small portion of the whole kind of spectrum of 3-act structure. But essentially, and I use my little whiteboard, check it out, I'm in my office. 3-act structure is this kind of tradition in Western narrative to imagine that a story really takes place in these 3 segments that all have to do with a character arc, okay? So it's not really about plot. That's one of the big mistakes, and that's a whole subject in and of itself. But that's one of the big mistakes that I made as a new writer, and I think a lot of new writers make, is that you think of 3-act structure when it comes to plot. What's happening? What are the things that are happening to my character? But what it really is, it's an arc that deals with where your character is on the emotional trajectory of their journey as they're kind of being challenged by and either overcoming or succumbing to their deep-seated emotional and psychological issue that they're dealing with in your story. The thing that they're trying to wrestle with in your story, emotionally, psychologically, that's their character arc, okay? So 3-act structure kind of works like this. I use my little whiteboard, you can see. So really, this is like a full 3-act structure, and what I'll show you is here. I'll take my thing, it's probably gonna fall, but whatever. Okay, so 3-act structure, it kind of goes like this. So it's the first act is 1/4 of the story. In a movie, that would be about 30 minutes. The second act here takes up the bulk. It's about 60 minutes in a movie, right? It's half. And then the third act is usually about another 30 minutes. It's another quarter. So it's like 1/4, 2 quarters, 1/4. 30, 60, 30 in a 120-minute movie. Movies use it like pretty mercilessly. If you watch Disney movies, Marvel movies, big kind of summer blockbuster stuff, you'll see this. You'll see them follow this like really transparently. But we're only going to be looking at this one little part today, okay? So essentially, in a film, if we're thinking about filmically, and one of the reasons I kind of go cross genre like this, or the things that I love, talking about film, TV, novel, all that stuff, is that I think I said this, but when I was coming up, all I wanted was a teacher. All I wanted was classes in writing, and it was so hard to find that. Now it's way more prevalent. But so I would study anything I could get my hands on, whether it was how to write a screenplay, Sid Field or Lou Hunter, all that stuff, or comic book drawing, comic book how to do comics the Marvel way, or any kind of fiction writing book I could get my hands on too. So for me, it's really interdisciplinary, and this is one of those kind of skeleton key things that when I learned it, I was like, oh man, it unlocks so much about how to structure your whole arc, how to structure a whole arc. So if a comic book arc is somewhere around 5 to 6 issues or more, Court of Owls is 11 to 12, I kind of lay it over this kind of a structure and be like, all right, well, if it's 6 issues though, that's about 120 pages, right? So it kind of matches almost a filmic structure. And there's a lot of flexibility, but with a first issue, really what happens in Act 1 of a film, or act one of really any kind of 3-act structure thing, is character introduction. You're introducing your protagonist to your reader. And again, I said this once before when we were talking about characterization, but you're not just trying to show who they are, you're trying to show who they are in relation to the thing that you're going to have them struggle with in your story, right? So an example is like in Titanic, right? The introduction to Rose, who's the main character, isn't just she's a rich lady who wants to go on a boat or whatever. It's that she's struggling with feeling trapped, right? And then the inciting incident, this point that comes in about 12 to 15 minutes in any film, and in a comic book, in the first issue, usually somewhere, essentially gives that character an opportunity to make a decision that will get them out of that situation, that will make them confront their fears, something. Something comes into their life that spins the story in a new way. And then about 30 minutes in, at the end of Act 1, they make the decision to follow that thing or fight that thing or whatever it is, to take advantage of that thing that came into their life and changed or opened up a fork in the road, to take that fork and then go on a journey. That's kind of Act 1. Okay, that's usually the structure of Act 1. So most comic book issue 1s are either 1 to 15, they usually end with an inciting incident, or they end when the character goes on the journey at the end of Act 1, off on their quest. So, like, again, though, just to be clear, like, for example, like, let's look at, like, Terminator, right, which I was just looking at the other night with my kid, my 14-year-old, who I watched, by the way, like, just in case CPS or whatever, we're watching the ones that you tape. I DVR'd it on TV a while ago so that it has, like, some parts bleeped out, because he's not quite there yet. But anyway, all right, so Terminator, Sarah Connor, right, how they introduce her? They introduce her as this kind of ill-prepared kind of woman for a crazy future, whose life is a mess and she's struggling. She's just a young woman trying to make it on her own. But the point is, she's about to be confronted with this future that says that she has to be this incredible hero and mother to take down, like, the machine war army, right? So what they're doing is they're showing how unprepared she is for this. And when she learns that people are killing Sarah Connors, that's the incident where it's like, people are killing other versions of her. So she has to then become the version that she needs to be the hero she's always supposed to be, right? And when Reese comes in and is like, take my hand if you want to live, that's the end of Act 1. That happens around 20-something, 30 pages in, 30 minutes in. I mean, it's exactly that kind of format. She takes his hand. She doesn't, she goes in the car with him. She doesn't or she doesn't, she fights him a little bit. She bites him, if I remember correctly. But the point is, she goes on that journey to become who she's going to be. She meets her future literally and figuratively in that moment to go on, right? So it's all about emotion. Okay, it's all about emotion. It's all about where they are in the trajectory of their battle against the things that are holding them back in life, or the things that they need to accomplish, and all that challenges. So really quick, I don't want to take too long with this video, but Stray Dogs, amazing book out from Image right now. The art by Trish Forstner and color by Brad Simpson, who's a great guy too. It's like almost like Disney or Chuck Jones. It's so great. It's like old school animation, right? The story is so dark though, by Tony Fleecs. It's amazing. It's a 5-issue series. They're doing another thing, but it's really set. So if you want structure, look at it. It follows 3-act structure so well. But the first issue, which I have here on, because again, sold out, right? Because comics. It starts with a dog named Sophie who's going to the doctor, right? This is a little while ago. She goes to the doctor, and she's getting ready for her shot, and her owner is sort of like, oh, she's always afraid of this place because she remembers she gets a shot. And the doctor's like, that's not how their memory works. Dogs remember you. They remember commands, where they sleep. But short-term memory mostly doesn't hold on to, their short-term memory mostly doesn't hold on to things like that, right? So she gets the shot, and next thing she knows, she's being delivered to this house where all these dogs that are super friendly to her and are like, hi, welcome to your new home. And you don't really know what happened in between. And as she goes around, she's really scared. She doesn't quite remember, who she used to be or anything. And the whole story is about dogs remembering the past and coming to terms with what happened to them. But she goes around with the other dogs in the house, and what she suddenly realizes at the end of the story is that every dog there is actually taken there by the master who they're all living with is a serial killer, and he killed their owners and brought the dogs to this place. And they don't remember. She's trying to convince this dog who smells the scarf of her owner, which is still in the house, Sophie suddenly remembers her past and tells the other dogs, like, oh my God, the master is a killer. And A, they don't remember any of their former lives, but B, they don't want to believe it. So it becomes this incredibly claustrophobic, awesomely gripping story about these dogs trying to figure out whether or not her memory is faulty or not, and has a great little twist cap ending on the first issue as well, so I'm not spoiling too much. But the idea is, look what Tony did there. Tony started all about memory, right? He didn't just start with her. He could have started in a sensational way with her at home and her owner getting killed by somebody. No, it's all about memory. It's all about how Sophie, remembers some things, doesn't remember others. And the struggle with that, about remembering things that are important to you and who you are. And the book is hugely, really heartfelt about that too. So I can't say enough good things about it. It's a fantastic read. Please pick it up from Image Comics. But again, so just to sum up, because again, I want to keep these short. Act 1, your first issue, right? So 3-act structure. Act 1 is all about introducing your character and in a way that shows what they're up against in the course of your story, emotionally and psychologically. And then probably, depending on your pacing, depending on how many issues you have, depending on how far you want to get, either getting to that inciting incident that's going to surprise them, which is her realizing here that the master of the new house is a serial killer, or might be, or B, usually maybe the end of Act 1, which would be her saying, and we're gonna find a way out of this place, right? Or we're gonna find a way to stop him. That would be the next step. But usually there can be a pretty big gap between these things here, where a lot of the time, like here, where something will come in to the character's life that surprises them and they'll resist going away because of it. Or there'll be people standing in the way of them going after it, like, in a Disney movie like Moana or something like that, where Moana wants to go, but there's all these pressures and her father and people saying, don't go do that. So they'll find out about something, the first 15 minutes is who they are, something happens that opens a new road to them. The second 15 minutes is usually them struggling with whether or not to go or fighting against the things keeping them from going, and then they go. So I hope that helps. It's just, again, just the tip of the iceberg. My 10-year-old is coming to steal his iPad back, so I'm going to hop off. But I hope you're enjoying these. Again, Fourth World Comics. Please stop by Smithtown, New York. Fantastic shop. Nocterra 5 out next week. Undiscovered Country 13's out now. Start of a new arc. And I just can't thank you guys enough. I love doing these. And please look for stuff from me soon. I'm going to be doing teaching in a more comprehensive way, and I am going to move my social media over so it's all kind of in one place about Best Jacket.